to Village in Motion on this Tuesday, August 2nd already, 2005. We have another one of our Get Acquainted shows today. Help me welcome, if you will, Betty Brannon. Welcome to Village in Motion, Betty.
Hi, Marcia.
She hasn't really been at Green Spring long enough to have a whole lot of history, but we want to catch up with her anyway. You are a nurse practitioner.
Right.
And you've been here like 3 almost whole months.
3 whole months.
3 whole
Almost.
months. Okay, Betty. What we like to do is get acquainted with new staff, residents, etc. So why don't you just kind of tell us a little bit about, I know that from seeing your resume, you spent some time in Georgia.
Well, I would think so.
Yeah.
Most of my life, all except 5 years, I have been in Georgia.
She's been in Georgia for a while. Okay, you started out there.
Yes. Many years ago.
We don't have to talk about years.
But
they'll show.
That's okay. One of the great things about nursing is that it allows you to move, advance, or for those nurses that are happy to stay where they are, that's fine too.
Mm-hmm.
But I did a lot of things while I was in Georgia. First of all, I went to a hospital nursing school of nursing.
Which all of us did.
Yes, and
a year or two ago.
Right, and then it was a struggle, but to get my, then I had to get my bachelor's because it was not a degree program, and then move on to the master's. And what I would do is that as soon as a school of nursing would open up close enough that I could commute back and forth, then I would apply. So eventually I did get my master's in adult nursing. Mm-hmm. And then at that time I moved to Atlanta, and all kinds of opportunities were available then.
I'm sure.
And then I took a trek again, and from Atlanta commuted to the University of Alabama for a postgraduate program for the nurse practitioner. It was 9 months, but a heavy load.
Lots
for
of
9 months.
nurses and teachers have had to really struggle, go distances to get that advanced education, and we take our hats off to people like you.
Thank you.
Really.
Thank you.
So,
for those of us that grew up in rural areas,
right,
it's remarkable. That if you live in a large urban area, that you just take these things for granted.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway.
And I understand that you are one of those that I always hated to see happen. The husband moved jobs, and there went my most valuable faculty member.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it's
so we're profiting from that here, aren't we?
Right, and I agree with you. One of the, in doing education and orientation programs for hospitals, and the young nurses would come in and I'd say, well, what brought you here? Well, my boyfriend, or well, I'm going like, okay, ladies, okay, girls, make sure that it's your move that you want to make. And it was best for both of us. Mm-hmm, but yes, he did. Mm-hmm. He's the reason we moved up here in 2000.
So you've been around this area.
Right.
And let's kind of not dispense with him, but what does he do?
Well, he's in healthcare administration.
Healthcare administration,
yes,
okay.
And so he had finished his PhD and applied for a position at HUD, Housing and Urban Development. Mm-hmm. There's a small department there that I don't want to say they don't finance, but they insure loans for hospitals. And so
he's kind of brought the hospital business into that part of the government.
Right, and ironically, he is the program director for critical access hospitals, and he is the expert for small rural hospitals. So
if he gets in a jam, you can help him.
Right.
Okay. All right. So what have you been doing since you've been in this area? You've only been with us 3 months.
Right.
Okay.
I have moved around some, and jobs I didn't like, I didn't have to stay with them very long,
Okay.
But my first opportunity was with Georgetown, and it was a wonderful experience. My background being cardiac, I did go to Georgetown when MedStar opened up their cardiac program. Excuse me. And that was from the Washington Hospital Center. Went out to Kent and then moved back over to Georgetown. But the program was struggling, and the decision was made to close the cardiac program. And that being my specialty, then I went looking for another job.
You were out on the street again.
I
Okay.
wanted to come back. I wanted to see what was going on this side of the river instead of the other. So, but I remained in hospitals. Never thought outside that hospital box. I was a hospital nurse, even though I was working as a nurse practitioner at that time. So, worked part-time, bought a new home, moved again. Until about last year, about a year ago, decided to leave hospital nursing. Didn't give me what I was quite looking for.
Not full satisfaction.
Right. And so a friend of mine now was a hospice nurse and was talking to me on one of the units one day, and she said, "You ought to come work for us." And about 3 months later, I said, "I'm going to." So I did. I went to work for hospice and did that for the last year.
I think you said earlier that that's a very rewarding kind of experience.
It is. If you, most of my life being just concentrating on cardiac nursing, and that is so regimented, so technical. Patients enter into the system, and there's not individual differences. Everybody is
Doesn't
like a conveyor
allow
belt.
you some creativity.
Right. But with hospice, I have had a long interest in hospice, even dating back to Kubler-Ross's research and writings in the 1960s. So I really enjoyed the hospice experience. I went to hospitals, to homes, private homes, and because I retained my DC license, I also would go over and do visits in DC. And so I've been to the mansions in Georgetown, to the public housing over in Anacostia. So that in itself was rewarding.
Hospice nursing fills such a vital and important role with families, with patients, that done well, I've never done it, but I would think that it would be rewarding.
Right. The smallest gesture, and sometimes it is as simple as an explanation of what will happen, what you can tell the family members, what they can expect, because they're very limited with experiences with the dying, and they are so extremely grateful to have that.
Yes.
At the time that it becomes evidence, and the bulletin boards at our hospice was just loaded with thank you notes.
Thank you notes.
Thank you.
Appreciation.
Right. And that's the reason, people just pour their hearts out to the organization, the hospice organization, and to make sure that those benefits are extended to everyone.
Well, now, you've been here 3 months. What what made that bridge?
Oh, it was simple. I've had like two, three, four patients here, and of course, yes.
So you got inside the
Yes.
pearly gates here.
I did. I remember the day that I came up through the gate, the security gate, and he handed me the map, and I'm going like, wow, you know. So I did struggle and drove around and found my patients, and they all, I remember two ladies, they just spoke very highly of living here, and they did not want to have to give up living here either.
Mm-hmm.
And so in working with the last few months with hospice, I became more knowledgeable of Green Springs and what it had to offer.
Mm-hmm.
So when the opportunity became available, I, tackled Dr. Brandwin in the hospital halls, I think, almost. Said, I'm available. And so...
and he took it from there.
He did.
I'm sure he did.
He did.
Well, this is wonderful. There's more than one. Matter of fact, we had your cohort scheduled, and something took her away from us. So she'll come back sometime. She'll get here sometime. But,
Yeah.
but tell us a little bit about nurse practitioners in our setting.
Okay. I don't know if everyone is familiar with nurse practitioners and what their roles are and what they can do.
Probably not. It wouldn't hurt to expand on that a little bit, Betty.
The actual practice of nurse practitioners is a little bit different from each state, but currently in the state of Virginia, nurse practitioners they have their own office, they have their own patients, they have prescriptive authority, including DEA controlled drugs, but we have to have a supervising physician, and that person must be available to us. Doesn't have to be in the same room, same building, same unit, but it has to be they have to be available to us at any time that we're practicing. So someone could actually go see the nurse practitioner for any length of time without seeing the physician, if they were comfortable with that and they requested that. So, but it works very well to have nurse practitioners here at Green Springs, especially with Renaissance Gardens. We have added 2. Anita has been here since Renaissance Garden opened.
Yes.
And she's a delight to work for. She's a wonderful mentor.
She's a wonderful lady.
And Marge and I came on board, but we also have added 2 physicians so that we can be able to provide coverage and a smaller amount of workload that was already being done. For instance, Anita and the other, Natalie, who was the nurse practitioner that took another position, saw patients on all the units, but their time was limited. So I would much rather have it like it was. We've always been budgeted for these positions, but getting them filled was the problem.
Was a problem.
Yeah.
I know that Dr. Brandwin, and every time I'd see him, I'd say, when are we getting nurse practitioners? When? It's so great to see it evolve more now.
Right. We were at the family meeting last Wednesday, and the questions came up. Anita and I will be in Renaissance Gardens. Anita will be on the rehab unit, and then I have the long-term care units. And then Marge has the assisted living units. So that's how the division of labor is. So if there's any questions that come up, you can just call the reception at Renaissance Gardens and ask Mary Marr to page one of us. So you can get some idea about, well, I don't know who to contact, but she's on this unit, or they're on this, then you would be able to know what nurse practitioner went to what unit.
This would be good for independent residents who have, let's say, a spouse or a significant other, let's say,
Right.
in Renaissance Gardens.
Right.
What you're saying is that we, the independent resident, could call the front desk, the
Right.
receptionist at Renaissance Gardens, and ask for a nurse practitioner.
Right.
And say, I need for X area.
Right. What I have found is that in working with the family members that, of course, we haven't been ready to do this too much because both Marge and I are still in the learning process. But family members will actually say, well, I didn't know that you were here. I didn't know about you.
Which is exactly why you're here today, Betty.
Good, good.
And we want residents to tell other residents.
Right, because we all, we would prefer to know family members before the crisis occur. What I'm saying, when there's a problem, I would like to know. So my business cards are on both of the units on 3rd and 4th floor, so that if the issue comes up or a concern comes up, they can get in touch with me. And we'll probably be doing that a little bit more after we get the clinic opened and
It's the full practice is evolving.
Right.
It's kind of a shakedown cruise right now.
right,
Uh-huh.
right.
Good.
But Dr. Gable and Dr. Hens both will be very active over at Renaissance Gardens. I don't quite know what their assignments are, but they will be assigned a long-term care unit. And also, I know Dr. Hens is going to be working with Marge in the independent, in the assisted living clinic. In the clinic. They will actually have clinic available every day on a daily basis.
We're about as fully staffed as we've ever been.
I would think so.
Which is very good for both independent and Renaissance Gardens,
Right.
both assisted and long term.
Right.
So that's great.
That is.
Great. And we're just going to say again, Betty Brannon is the young lady we're talking to today, and we will have Marge Johnson. We'll get her scheduled sometime in her busy schedule. Okay, so are there things that come to your mind you'd like residents to know about your practice or Renaissance Gardens? Things that come to your mind?
I can't. I will see just the ones in long-term care, and I just Anita and I just started the new division of work this Monday. But if any of the residents have family members over at Renaissance Gardens, there are the nurses on the units that will take care of so many things that relate to nursing. But if there is a medical issue, please know that every one of the residents over there has a nurse practitioner assigned to them. So if there is a medical issue, if there's a medical problem, if there's a question or information about medications, anything related to that, I would like everybody to know that they can contact their nurse practitioner.
The first level, and the point is that the nurse practitioners are really assigned there like full time.
Right.
Whereas the physicians are more in and out, but the nurse practitioner can get to the physician promptly if needed.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anita and I both come in the morning, we answer our email, we answer our voice messages, and then we, after we finish that, we spend the rest of our day on our units. So we actually, see the patients in their rooms, or I say
wherever.
patients, the residents, wherever they present. If we have to transfer a patient to the hospital, if a resident has to have an exam done, like an X-ray, then the nursing staff would arrange for transportation, but we're in touch with the physician because we know that we have a physician making rounds every morning, you know, Monday all day, all week. They will be making rounds at the residents that have been admitted to Fairfax Hospital. But that's how we are contacting in contact with the doctors. Every afternoon when Anita and I are leaving, then if there are any hanging issues with any of the residents, then we will give the physician on call just a message. I want you to keep an ear out for, you may get a call for Mrs. So-and-so.
This is a problem pending.
Right.
Pending problem or whatever.
Right. So that's continuity, and it helps them to give them a little idea instead of like 11 o'clock at night being called and not being aware of what's going on.
Right. Well, that's, like you say, that's continuity of care. That's coverage.
That's right.
That's real coverage.
That's right.
Well, Betty, I know that people are going to say, oh, I saw you. Gee, I'm glad to know you, and we're glad to have you here. And you can tell Marge, you know, what this is all about,
All right.
and I'll be chasing her down. So we're going to take a little turn now and change the subject and the topic. And there's a song, something about "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." Well, let's have some information about "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
Hello, this is Helen Reynolds for this segment of Village in Motion, and that picture is of Screech, the mascot of the Washington Nationals. It's not of me. I'm the one in the gray baseball cap, not the red one. Today is Take Me Out to the Ball Game time, and visiting us in the studio we have Mandy Mullins, who's the Community Resources Coordinator, right? And Elke Martin, who's the Volunteer Program Coordinator, and you're going to talk about grandparents and kids at the baseball game.
We are. Volunteer programs and community resources are partnering to sponsor a trip to a Washington Nationals baseball game in August. We are hopefully going to be taking 22 residents and pairing them up with 22 kids, which is where volunteer programs comes into play, and taking them to, it's the Nationals versus the Cincinnati Reds on August 25th. It's an afternoon game, so it's 1 o'clock. We're going to leave here at 11:30 from the conference center, but
The game will start at 1.
the game will start at 1 o'clock.
And then how long is this? Well, you never know because you don't know how long the game's going to be.
Right.
If it's just a 9-inning game, you expect to come back about when?
Probably about 5 o'clock.
But it could even be later.
It could be if they're doing really good and winning or overtime. Maybe we'll go longer. So.
And who are the kids that we're talking about? Elke?
Elke?
I get to talk about the kids?
Yes.
I love to talk about the kids because, as you know, during the school year, we have a volunteer program whereby 35 of our residents go and tutor elementary school kids in 3 area elementary schools, Saratoga, Hunt Valley, and Garfield.
Yeah.
And we've had very good experience with those kids and with the school administration. And so we contacted Garfield, just up the road, to see if they might have 22 kids who would be interested in coming to the ball game with us and who might otherwise not have the opportunity to do something this exciting over the summer.
Yeah, and it's so great to have baseball back in Washington because I can remember when I was a kid and one of our big thrills was going down. It was then Old Griffith Stadium, you wouldn't know about it, and going to the ball game. It was great on a summer afternoon. And it's going to be a great experience for the kids.
Absolutely, yeah.
So
yeah.
Now, in other words, you want volunteer grandparents, don't you?
We do. We want residents to sign up. They had stuffers in their cubbies about a week ago, advertising it. The cost is $30. It's only the cost of the ticket that residents are responsible for. Community Resources paying for transportation to get there. And then we're also going to be providing the residents with a food voucher to cover the cost of the food that would be associated for the child that they're going to be kind of going around with that day.
And if I know kids, it's not going to be just a straight lunch. It's going to be go down for hot dogs and go back for chips and go back for ice cream, then go back for something else, right?
Well, we'll try to limit them so that the residents are not running up and down.
The kids may want to do
The
that,
kids
but
can do the
Right.
you
running,
know, there's
yeah.
a real short word that is no. I don't think so. You don't have to do everything just because the kids
I
want
know.
it.
I
But
know
we
you
thought we would offer a $10 food voucher
Yeah.
to the residents so that they don't feel just because they want to see the ball game and take a kid along,
Yeah.
they have to also shell out money for their
Yeah.
food. We
Is the
certainly don't want
resident
that.
going to provide his or her own lunch, whatever
Right.
way? I don't know. Do they allow you to take lunch in, do you think?
You can take a brown paper bag with lunch in if you'd like, and then
Yeah.
you can also take in a bottle of water as
Water.
well. It has to be non-frozen. I'm guessing
Yeah.
that they think the frozen might be, harmful.
Something else, yeah.
Right. And I think that community resources will buy water and have for them to take in that day.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
Because it is expensive for
Yeah.
water and
it
food.
begins to add up
Yeah,
after
yeah.
a while.
And
Yeah.
it still may be quite hot in August. We don't know
Oh,
that, but
yes,
it could very
yes.
well
Have
be.
you ever lived here
it-
in August?
Well, yeah, exactly. So it may very well be a day where we need a lot of water.
I think so. I think
Yeah.
so.
Although we
The
have
plus-
fabulous,
Yeah.
fabulous seats.
Oh,
we
do
have
you? Where are
tickets in the shade. We're
Oh.
told during a day game, it's in the shade and it's partly under roof.
Yeah.
So it's perfect. And Mandy can talk more about it. I don't understand anything about baseball, so.
Oh,
Well-
you should go and make sure.
Yes, I want to learn.
Yes.
Because to me, this whole thing is a mystery. Coming
Yeah.
from Germany where everybody plays soccer,
Yeah.
I still have no understanding what
Well,
baseball
Europeans
is about.
say, is it like cricket? No, it really isn't like cricket.
Oh, not at all.
No, no,
I can
quite
see
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our seats are in the 300 levels, so they're not top, 500 level
You
seats.
don't have to climb all the way up.
Right. They, like Elke said, they are shaded in the daytime because of it being a 1 o'clock game, and they are under roof, so the sun will hopefully not be an issue for residents because
Yeah.
it does get warm, in bleachers. So.
Yeah, yeah.
And then also, we're right on the right field line,
Oh,
so
wow.
we are going to have the opportunity for fly balls and
Oh,
stuff. So
and
that'll
foul
be fun
balls,
for
yeah.
the fun for the
Elke,
kids.
you may not realize it, but if the batter hits a ball way out of bounds and it goes toward the people sitting in the stands and they're able to catch the ball, they get to keep that baseball
Okay.
and have this terrific memory of the day, and they can take it down afterward and have one of the ball players or many of the ball players sign
Oh,
the
really?
baseball.
Yeah.
And that becomes a really great souvenir.
That would be special.
So you
Yeah,
have to hope
yeah.
that that's what they'll do, that they'll hit one
Yeah.
way around over to you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's great. Yeah,
We're-
you see, I remember a lot about baseball. Yeah.
We're also working with the Nationals to get some free stuff for the kids,
Oh,
maybe even for
souvenir.
residents. So
Yeah, that would be
something
nice.
that they can really remember the day by.
That would
so,
be great. Could they maybe could go down and shake hands with the ball players? or
They
something?
can,
Right.
yeah. The players are behind the dugouts
Yeah.
from 12:30
Oh,
until
yes.
12:30.
Yeah.
For autographs. So we
Oh,
have the
yeah.
posters that they saw at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
That the kids will have and hopefully be able to get some autographs and be real fun for them.
Yeah, well, it really sounds like you've got a great program planned out. Now, let's see, let me recapitulate a little bit about it's Thursday, August 25th. There it shows. We'll leave at 11:30 from the town center.
The Hunters Crossing Conference
Hunters
Center.
Crossing. You'll leave from Hunters Crossing. You'll get back after the game's over, which may be 5 or 6 o'clock or a little later. The cost to the resident is $30. And when do you have to sign up?
Sign up is ongoing, so
Yeah, but is there a deadline? Almost to the right up till the
almost to right up to the date. Yeah, we'd
Yeah.
like to have more than 22 sign up in case
Well,
some
as soon
can't
as
go.
as soon as the bus is full,
Right.
we are at the deadline.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. We just
well,
want people
you're
to.
going to have posters on the bulletin board.
There's
Right.
posters
Yeah.
on the bulletin board.
Now I see a number here to call, 923-3131 with extension 4270. And who's at the other end of that phone?
That would
Mandy?
be me, Mandy.
Okay. To tell people, even if somebody hadn't signed, they can call you and get more details
Absolutely.
or something like that. So it looks as though you're really going to have a great day.
Yes.
I know it's going to be a fun thing. Elke's going to go along and have somebody explain to her play-by-play.
I'm not sitting beside her.
Yeah, somebody has to explain it all
I'm
to
sure
me. This makes
that
no
there will
sense.
be a grandfather on that bus who would like nothing better than to tell you how baseball works.
Yeah, it would be a great chance to learn
Yeah,
how it is.
yeah.
I want to add one other thing, Helen.
Surely.
We have gotten the word from the Nationals that our bus will be in a really good parking spot. So
Oh,
there is
great.
not as much walking involved as
That's
some
good.
people may fear.
Yes,
We're
I
going to
do
be
know
close
that
to the stadium.
some people who went on that special trip to the ball game did comment on the fact
Right.
they did have to walk quite a distance.
Right, yeah.
And that, as you know, is hard for some of our people.
Exactly. That's why I wanted to mention it.
Yeah.
And I worked with Carol to make sure that we didn't get seats that were as far up as those seats.
Yes.
And then also with the group sales office to make sure that we were in a location that was very accessible.
So
for
you
residents.
two have really done a wonderful job arranging this. I think that probably tells everybody what they need to know. Come on, folks, you want to take a kid, make the pretense of taking the kid a good excuse to go to the baseball game and just yell your lungs out for the Nats.
Welcome back to the studio. Well, we've been to the ball game and we've been to Renaissance Gardens. Oh, I guess we haven't been to the game. We're just going to get ready to go to the game. Anyway, we want to talk about some programs.